Okay, today we're going to start Dalet Amud Beis, and it's in the middle of the page. It's sort of hard to find. The line starts Kaddish if you have a traditional Gemara. It says Gabi Nazir Nami Haksiv La Hashem. Good morning. It may be a new paragraph in the English. That's 4b. And it starts off with the words regarding a Nazir. Also, it's written in the verse for Hashem. You see that? Let me find it in here. Yeah, right there on the top. It's right on top of the page. In the English, it's right on top of what page is that? Page 24. Okay. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. This is the learning we should have this in English immediately. For Shlema, for everyone. Yesterday for the coming to the scene.
Oh, yeah, lovely. I wrote
it. Okay. Thank you. It says, we have to go back a little bit, just to recap. We're discussing the difference between a Nazir Olam and a Nazir Shimshon. Nazir Olam is a lifetime Nazir, and Nazir Shimshon is a lifetime Nazir. But a Nazir Olam is allowed to cut his hair when it gets heavy. And he's not allowed to go to a cemetery. Nazir Shimshon was not allowed to cut his hair ever, but he was yes allowed to go to a cemetery.
Was there anyone in the Tanakh who was a Nazir Olam?
Yeah, Abshalom. That's what we're going to discuss today. David's son.
So is one of the differences that one chose to be a Nazir and the other one was chosen before?
Yeah, that's also part of this. Now, that's an important part of it. That we had a machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Can someone accept on himself to be a Nazir Shimshon? Rabbi Yehuda says yes, and Rabbi Shimon said no. Rabbi Shimon says that the only way a person can become a Nazir is if he accepts on himself to be a Nazir. It has to be a davar anider, something that is vowed. But a Nazir Shimshon is not vowed. That was just one occurrence that happened. No one else could ever be a Nazir Shimshon. They can't accept that on themselves. So then we said, maybe this is associated with another machlekes. If a person can say that this loaf of bread should be prohibited, just like a firstborn animal is prohibited. Should be, right, kainam. This, just like a bachar. Now, a bachar has a similarity to Shimshon. The similarity is that just like the firstborn animal was consecrated on its own, no one had to consecrate it. So to Shimshon, no one had to make him into a Nazir. He was born a Nazir. It was the angel that said that he's supposed to be a Nazir, but no one had to pronounce that. So it wasn't done by human intervention. So now there's a machlekes if someone can say this by Bechar. It's a machlekes Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yaakov says that it works. It is a prohibition. That would fit perfectly with Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yosi that says that it's not a prohibition by a firstborn animal. This loaf of bread should be prohibited. Just like this firstborn animal, it does not do anything. So that fits with Rabbi Shimon that says, I'm a Nazir. If someone says, I'm a Nazir Shimshon, it doesn't do anything because it's not something that was vowed. It was something that just happened automatically. Says, yeah.
Usually we do this when there are Morayim, right? And then we say, oh, there's a Morayim discussion. It's like a Tanaic discussion.
Yeah.
But they're already Tanaim. What is
right.
it?
Right. Actually, usually when we do this with Amirayim, we're actually creating a question. And over here, we're not asking it as a question. When we do it with Amirayim, we're saying that let us say that what the Amirayim are arguing about was already argued about. Why should they need to argue about it again? And that's a problem. And then the Gemara resolves it. Actually, the format of the Gemara is that it's exactly the same. The format is exactly the same as if it's Amirayim. Gemara says, Loi, it answers it up as if this is problematic. You have a good point there. Yeah. I wouldn't say that it's a question. I would just say that it's not the regular situation, what you're asking. Okay, let's say that this is the same as another machlekes. And what the Gemara seems to say is that Reb Shimon doesn't want to be arguing with Reb Yaakov and Reb Yaisi, and Reb Yehuda doesn't want to argue with Reb Yaakov and Reb Yaisi. Each one wants Reb Yaakov and Reb Yaisi to agree with them when it comes to the Nazir. They want both of them to agree. When it comes to Bachar, I granted there's a machlekes. Reb Yehuda says, I know there's a machlekes by Bachar. Reb Shimon says, I know there's a machlekes by Bachar. But the reason why there's a machlekes by Bachar, is because of a special pasuk. But they would agree with me by Nazir that it's going to be my way. That's what each one is going to say. So what we said last was that by the Nazir, by the Bechar, it says a pasuk. It says La Hashem. It says Ishki. When it says by Neder, Ishki the Neder La Hashem. When a person takes a vow for God, that's it coming to include if he says that the vow should take effect just like a firstborn is consecrated. So to this should be prohibited just like the firstborn animal. So the word La Hashem isn't coming to include such a type of vow. So in other words, there's a special reason for Reb Yaakov to say that it's going to work, and that would be Reb Shimon's claim that by a Nazir Shimshon doesn't work. But by a neder of a Bechar, it does work because of the pasuk of La Hashem, that extra pasuk. And that's what we're holding right now. It says, Gabi Nazir aksiv La Hashem. How could you tell me that this is a special lima that applies to the neder? That a person can take a vow and say that this should be prohibited just like a firstborn animal. And we learn that specifically because it says the word La Hashem, but no, by a Nazir Shimshon, it won't happen like that. No, we don't have anything like. What do you mean? By a Nazir, it also says La Hashem. So it should be able to say, if we're using the word La Hashem to include something that wasn't actually vowed, so it should work for the Nazir as well, that a Nazir Shimshon should become a Nazir. Okay. The Gemara says, Ahumi Ba'ilei Kedetanya. That La Hashem that it says by Nazir, we need it for another discussion. That's not an extra word. By the neder, it was extra. By the Nazir, it's not extra. Why? It was taught in a brisa. With this we had in Nedarim, Daf Tes. It says, Amar Shimon HaTzadik. Shimon HaTzadik said, I never ate from the sacrifice, the guilt offering of the Nazir that was tummy, except for one time. Remember the story? There was someone that came from the south. He was beautiful eyes and very handsome. And his locks of hair were like arranged in curls, in locks. I said to him, B'ni, what did you see to destroy this beautiful hair? I want to make a shaitel. Amarli, so he said, I was a shepherd. I went to draw water from the spring, and I looked at my shadow in the water. When he leaned over, he saw his shadow. And my evil inclination was sweeping over me. Because the Tadeni wanted to destroy me from the world. If you remember, we had a marsha when we learned this in the Darim. A marsha that says that what he meant to say that he was a shepherd was that that now that he sees how handsome he is, he wanted to give up his job. He wanted to say, "What am I doing? Just being a regular shepherd? I could be a movie star." And that's what it means that I shouldn't be doing this menial labor. I should be something special. So because the Tadeni Menayel wanted to destroy him from the world. So Amarti like Reka. I said to the Yetzer Hara, empty one, why are you being proud of a world that's not even yours? In the end, you're just going to be worms and maggots. What does the word havoida mean? It means like the matter happened or something. What does it mean? I'm going to do?
Yeah, it says, I swear by the temple service.
Oh, I swear by the temple service. Okay, good. So he swore that he's going to shave his head for the sake of heaven. Amarativ and Ashaktiv al Reishai, I stood up. This is Shimon HaTzadik speaking. Shimon HaTzadik was the Kohen Gadol, and he was the last of the men of the Great Assembly. So, Kamaischa Yerbo Nazirim B'Yisrael Alecha Kasavim Yesh Kiafli Linda Neder Nazir LaHazir LaHashem. See over here it says the word LaHashem. This was this story telling us that the word LaHashem by the Nazir is not extra. Coming to tell us that it's very important to become a Nazir for the right reasons, and not just to become a Nazir because Shimon HaTzadik was concerned that someone might become a Nazir and he doesn't really mean it, and then when he becomes Tameh, he regrets everything. So now I have to start over. I hardly meant this even beforehand. I was just doing it to do something extra, but I didn't really want it. Here, this was someone that really wanted it, and that's the way that it's supposed to be. Okay. Now the Gemara says, we ask on the basic premise. This whole Gemara was based on that Shimshon was not pronounced to be a Nazir by anyone, not by himself and not by his father or mother. Well, then the father would have the right to do that. I don't know about the mother. The father would have the right to pronounce him a Nazir. But Shimshon lav Nazir haba v'ksivki nazir likim yenar min abeten. But the pasuk says that he was going to be a Nazir. Now, what the Gemara is really asking here is that, was it not pronounced by his father that he's a Nazir? Wasn't this pronounced by the father?
Yeah.
Well, no, that was by Hannah.
They're thinking of Shmuel.
He's talking about Shmuel, yeah.
What was Shmuel exactly? Was he a Nazir?
I think he was also a Nazir Elam, I think. Well, I'm not sure what Shmuel was. The Gemara is going to discuss that at some point. But the angel appears to Shimshon's mother and says that they're going to have a child and he should be a Nazir. Then Manoach says that he wants to see the angel and hear it. And then so the angel appears again. And she runs to get Manoach and he comes and the angel gives over the same instructions. So it says that he's going to be a Nazir. So the Gemara's understanding is that what is the angel telling parents is that when the child's born, you have to pronounce him a Nazir. The Gemara says, no, Hasam Malachu the Kamer. The parents never had to pronounce that. That was just said by the angel. After he was born, everyone was silent about it. It wasn't a pronouncement. So therefore, this was not something that was made with human intervention. And that would go back to explain Reb Shimon's view. Okay.
Shameh ke'onen, maybe, no?
What is that?
Like Shameh ke'onen? Like,
Yeah. Wow, what coffee are you on today? It's a good question.
my third.
What is that?
My third.
He said that in halacha, when someone hears something, it's as if he pronounces it. That's why, like, you don't have to say a blessing on Kiddush, you could just say Amen. So maybe them listening is like Shemia Kaina. Wow, it's a good question. Trophy. Yeah. Any thoughts on that? Naftali is suggesting that Shemia Kaina is when you have an obligation and someone else is fulfilling the obligation. and you're listening, and that's covering you. But over here, there's no obligation. Maybe. It's good,
We said that they remain silent, so it would make it confirming.
yeah. Yeah. So what does confirming mean? Does confirming mean that they said it, or it doesn't? So who said it? That's the question.
I don't know. You said the angel said
The angel said it.
and then the parents remain silent.
Right.
So it's them remaining silent is like confirming. Like they don't-
Right. The question is what created Shimshon being a Nazir? What caused that? It was the angel. So it's the angel. If it's the angel, then the parents being silent and agreeing to it is fine, but that's not the thing created. We're back to the same point that it wasn't done by human intervention.
Question.
Yeah.
It's not the question. Sometimes we've had countings in the Gemara where they say there's so many things, 5 things, or
Right.
whatever, and then someone else says, no, there's really 8
Right.
things.
Right.
So we keep on saying there's 3 types of Nazir, right? There's a regular Nazir, Nazir Olam, Nazir Shimshon.
Right.
But I keep on counting 5 because we had previously said, what if a guy says he wants to be a Nazir, and then somewhere within 60 days, because he had a hard time, he says, I had enough of this. And he goes to a Chacham and he has his
Removed.
neder removed. So it's as if he was never a Nazir at all. That's really a 4th type. It's a Nazir that was never a Nazir. And then there's a 5th type we did mention earlier, that after the base of Mikdash, when there's no karbanas, guy says,
just
I'm a
stuck.
regular Nazir,
Right.
but
Right.
he's really a Nazir forever unless the base of Mikdash
Right.
comes in this time. So we really have 5 types of Nazirs.
Yeah. Now the reason why we're not listing it like that, the reason why we're only listing the 3 types of Nazir is because when it comes to the actual haircut, when it comes to being Tamei, these 3 have different halachas. A Nazir Stam never gets a haircut and he can't go to the temple. He can't go to the cemetery. He can't go to the cemetery. A Nazir Olam is allowed to get a haircut when his hair gets heavy. And he's not allowed. Another Shimshon can go to the cemetery, but he can't cut his hair. So those are the halachas of Nazir. It's true that there are interesting cases in each one of them, but those aren't going to change. Got it?
He's not a halacha shis.
Okay. So Hasam Malachu the Kamar. The Mishnah mentioned that a Nazir Shimshon is allowed to go to a cemetery. How do you know that he's allowed to? What's the source for that? So we have to look at the story of Shimshon. With a jawbone of the donkey, I hit 1,000 men. What was he? Shimshon was upset about. They burnt his wife's. They killed his wife. I think they killed her. No, they gave her to another man. I think.
Am Yisrael kind of exposed him, for lack of a better word. He was sort of like taken prisoner also by the Jewish people, and I think Am Yisrael just kind of they were cursed, so they
abandoned
gave him
him?
away. Yeah.
I think this was earlier though in the story. I think this was when Daniel, you remember what happened? I think he came back and his wife was already married to someone else, and they said that you can marry the younger sister or something. And then anyway, he was upset and he went out and he killed at the beginning.
And
he went out, he killed 1,000 people, something like that.
Movies like that.
That was in the
So
movie.
there were multiple.
Okay. They never let us watch.
All those movies.
They never let us watch any biblical movies. Any of those.
Because they throw you off.
Yeah, because we could watch other films years ago, not today, but years ago they would allow us to watch other
Most of the
films.
old biblical movies were made by a Christian network. So
Yeah.
there's also some of them. And I always got Shimshon mixed up with Richard.
Yeah. We went
Totally
Was
slanted.
the same actor?
I don't know, they look like.
we had a school project where we watched like Prince of Egypt or something like that, and then our son was, what was it in the movie that was incorrect? You have to like answer these
Oh,
questions.
that's a
what was
good
inaccurate.
project.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so yeah. Okay, that's creating a problem. Yeah, let me ignore that.
Okay.
Let me ignore that. So we see that he killed. If he killed, then obviously he came in contact with the corpse, right? The people that he killed. Okay, so he would become Tameh.
He could.
And he wasn't allowed to, unless, of course, you say that a Nazir Shimshon is yes allowed to. Okay. That's actually what they're bringing up in these notes, is that maybe it was in self-defense and
He didn't touch them, he just knocked them off.
oh, so 1 second. If you want to say from this verse that he says that he killed 1,000 men, maybe he just threw an arrow at them. The jawbone was his arrow. He just threw it at them, but he didn't actually touch them. We have another source. This was when, at his wedding, at this feast, he told the people, because he killed a lion, and when he went back or something, he saw that there was honey, there was a beehive that went into the skin of the dead carcass of the lion. So he had this riddle for the people. He said, "You can tell me what's something that's strong, that something sweet comes from." So then so he had this riddle. You can tell me the answer to that riddle, then I'll give you 30 clothing. If not, then. So anyway, his wife got the answer from him. They said it. She said, "Okay, that's it." And that's it. He he killed 30 men and gave them gave the people the 30 clothing. So he says he killed the 30 men. He took their clothing. Maybe first he took the clothing off and then he killed them. It says no. If it says he killed them, he hit them, and then he took the clothing. Maybe they weren't actually dead. Maybe he just knocked them out, that they were going to die. And while they were geisesing, dying, he took the clothing off them. The Gemara says, okay, well, it's a tradition. Now, there's two ways of understanding Gemara Gemara. Do you mean to say that there's a tradition of the basic halacha? That the halacha is that a Nazir Shimshon is allowed to become tamei, to become contaminated by a corpse? That's a tradition. Gemara Gemara, we have it passed on. Or it's a Gemara Gemiri law that he actually killed them and he didn't take the clothing off. And from that, we know he didn't take the clothing off before they died. And from that, we know that a Nazir is allowed to do. Either it's a step removed, either the right, Gemara Gemara is direct, or it's a step removed.
And he was allowed to kill 30 people?
And he was allowed to, well, he was not discussing if he's allowed to kill people and take their clothing because of that, but he was allowed to become tamei. That's what we're discussing.
It's like amazing. Oh, we're not going to talk about the fact that he killed 30 people. We're talking about was he impure? If this was a modern day court.
You have to go through it. In modern courts, when they have like this, like different counts. You have this issue, you have that issue. Each one has to be discussed separately.
On the count of killing 30 people, we'll postpone that till we decide. Does sound fun.
The story with Jawbone was when Yuda arrested that wasn't like for revenge or wife.
That wasn't?
No. I remember because there was he gave a parable with the lion and the bees, right? And he didn't give her the answer. And she eventually found out what the answer was. I think he eventually told her.
Rennie, I have a book at home, very interesting book. You don't like it, but it's a very good book called Halakha.
Oh.
And the theme of this book is that the Gemara use all human experience through the prism of Halakha. And it gives many examples like this where you say, what's going on? It's always.
And when we come across
this.
it in the Gemara, every once in a while, I say, discussing this.
Okay.
It's all kind of one thing. So first, he had this thing with the beehive, and then he sent away his wife, and then he came back to get the wife, and then she was already married to somebody else. So then he put the foxtails on fire. He tied the foxtails,
Right.
burned the field,
Yeah.
and then they came back to get him, and the people of Judah arrested him, tied him up, sent him to the Philistine. Then he undid the ropes, took the jawbone, killed 1,000 men. So it's all kind of the same story.
You got it, mister?
Yeah.
What did
Okay.
he put on fire?
The foxtails. He tied foxes by the tails, and then he lit them on fire, and they let them run.
Oh, another good one while they were alive.
Yeah.
Forget about Abraham and Echad.
Well, the Shimshon story is very confusing. I don't know if anyone has like a good explanation for what he was doing on any side.
I never,
He was just trying to find excuses to kill them. Right? They were exploiting the Jews.
Uh-huh. But then the problem of him, was
he was never subject. Somebody wasn't subject.
uh-huh.
You gotta know this.
But him marrying these non-Jewish women is problematic, right? I think the Gemara mentions that his eyes led him astray. Okay. Now we start a new section over here. Nazir Olam heichik siv. Where do you get the halachas of a Nazir Olam from? That a Nazir Olam is allowed to trim his hair. Well, the Tanya was taught in a brisa. Rebbe says Avshalom Nazir Olam haya. Rebbe says that Avshalom, which is David's son, was a Nazir Olam. Shnemar v'yimi ketzer b'yim shana v'yimer Avshalom el hamelach elcha v'ashalim es nedarai asher nedarti l'Hashem b'chevron. This is when Avshalom, he leads a rebellion against David.
Right.
What happened before this? I think Avshalom before this killed it. No, he didn't. No, what happened was Avshalom killed Amnon. I think so. I think Avshalom killed he killed his sister. Avshalom's sister was Tamar. And Tamar gets raped by Amnon. And then so Avshalom kills Amnon. I think then he's like sent away or something. And then they convince him to Yoav and convinces David to accept him back. He comes back, and then he leads through this rebellion against his father. And he says, after 40 years, Avshalom says to the king, says to his father, David, let me go and pay my vow that I vowed to Hashem in Hebron. What does paying the vow mean? That he was a Nazir. So, and it was at the end of days, to those days, and it says clearly in the verse that he went to cut his hair. Now, what does it mean it was the end of days? It doesn't say what amount of days. So the Rebbe says, V'alef yamim yamim, we learn it from what it says when someone sells a house in a walled city, that he has 1 year to buy it back. And after that, it gets, the deal is sealed, and he can't buy it back, even though there's usually the laws of Yovel that you have 50 years to buy, but not buy a house in a walled city. The deal is final after the first year.
You buy a house in Yerushalayim, I think the owner can still buy it back on the first.
Oh yeah, really? I don't know. I didn't know that.
I've
That's
heard
interesting.
people say, if you go buy an apartment in Yerushalayim, that the owner can still, the original owner can buy it back within the first year.
heard that about, I've never heard that about modern transactions.
Do you have an apartment in Yerushalayim? If they pass the year, you're
Yeah.
safe. You're
Then you
safe.
got nothing to
I
worry
was
about.
counting.
There's something about.
But if you want to sell it, I'm not sure I'm going to buy it from you unless you give me a clause.
Now you're entering into.
Title searches in Jerusalem are a horror show.
What?
A horror show.
A horror show. Yeah. I know there's some stipulation about selling a home to like a non-Jew versus.
Oh yeah, that's a
Today.
problem. So we learned from Bat Yerechaima, Mahasam Yud Beis Chaydash, just like by the houses in the walled city, you have 12 months to buy it back up. Kan Yud Beis Chaydash. Also over here, you have, also over here, he would cut his hair, Avshalom cut his hair every 12 months. Rab Nahirai says, Megaleach Achas L'Amid Yom, he would cut his hair every 30 days. And Rab Yossi, Megaleach Me'erev Shabbos Lev Shabbos, Rab Yossi says that he would cut his hair every Friday afternoon. Because he was a prince, and princes would get a haircut every week. Now, there's a discussion over here in the commentaries if Rab Nahiroi and Rab Yossi are discussing a unique situation of Avshalom, but really they agree that a regular Nazir Olam is every year, but Avshalom, because he was a prince, so he would cut it more frequently. Or if they're discussing what they're arguing about a regular Nazir Olam, if every Nazir Olam is actually a machlaikas, that's a discussion. In my time with the Rebbe, what's the reason for Rebbe? Yalaf min bat Yerechaima. He learns from the houses in the walled city. The word over there is Yamim, and over here it says Yamim. That means a year. It means a year. Or Rebbe Yudamer in Yamim Chus Mishnayim. When it says over there, Rebbe tells us that when you can buy it back after only up until 1 year. What it really means is, according to Rebbe, is that you can't buy it back within the first 2 days. Usually you say you have 24 or 48 hours to cancel. Here it's exactly the opposite. You can't cancel it. The seller can't cancel it for 24 hours. And then after that, he can cancel. So the Yomim actually means days. The Gemara says that this is impossible to do this because over there it says that he would cut his hair would get heavy, he would cut it. So it's impossible to say that in 2 days the hair would get heavy. So it has to be that it's talking about the year, not talking about the 2 days. Maybe it means 2 years. Over there it says the word Yamim, and this is when Yaakov goes down to, or the brothers go down to Egypt, right? And it was at the end of 2 years of the famine. It's not that he cuts his hair every 2 years, because when the pasuk that's talking about 2 years has the word years in it. It says the word yamim as well, but it has the word years. Don't prove from this pasuk. That's a different story. That says shanim in it. Maybe it's 30 days. It says until 1 month. What was that referring to when it says you have the whole verse there?
It doesn't quote a verse. But did you get up to the part where it talks about
Maybe I
the
think it meant.
analogy
I think it
from
meant when they
Shmuel?
had the what's it called? When they had the quail. It was talking about that they got the food for. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
until the meat will come out of their noses. Yeah, by the asafsa, by the complainer, and they complain that they wanted meat or whatever. Okay, so we have a month over there. It says yamim, and it's referring to a month. The Gemara says no, you can't use that either because it says done in yam sheini ma'im chadashim, yam sheini ma'im chadashim, alichil says sheish ma'im chadashim. Over there it says the word month, so that's a separate thing. We're looking for the word yamim as it is on its own. What is that referring to? Ema mehacha. Meha comes from here. Miyamim yamima. So this is by Yiftach. You know what happened with Yiftach? Yiftach went to war. I think it was against Ammon, and took a vow that the first thing that comes out of his house is going to bring as a sacrifice to God. When he comes back, it was his daughter that had come out. So he doesn't know. His daughter says, "Okay, so I'll be the sacrifice." Now this is discussion if what it means is that he actually killed her, or if it means that he put her in a monastery type of thing, that she was never going to get married. Anyway, she went to cry for 30 days, I think, with her friends to cry over her virginity or something. And then it says that the girls would lament her every year, 4 times a year. So maybe it means 4 times a year. Maybe it means that he can cut his hair every 3 months. Because it says the word yamim, and that would mean 4 times a year, quarterly, right? would be 3 months. So it says done in Yamim Miyamim ain't done in Yamim Miyamima. We can't learn from Yamima. That's a different word. My nafkamina, why are you making such a big deal about these little differences? But Tana de Rabbi Shmuel v'Shava kind of kind. We have a Gzeir Shava that Rabbi Shmuel uses, and over there it says that when the Kayan comes to quarantine the Mitzvah, the leper, it says he waits 7 days, and then it returns waits another 7 days. So we didn't know that it's 7 days by one of those times, but we learned from the other one. It says V'Shav, he returns, Uva, and he comes. And we learn that V'Shav and Uva, even though they're different words, but because the content is the same, the meaning of it is the same, what it's referring to the Kayan coming. So, and that was good enough for Gzeir Shav, even though the word was not exactly the same. And here you're telling me such a big deal that it says Yamim or Yamima. The Tana Be'er Shmuel, Zui Sheva Zui Bia, that's returning. This is in coming, it's the same thing. It says Hani Milehechad Lakadamila. That was only when we didn't have anything that was more similar to it. If we have something that's more similar, then we're going to make the Gzeir Shava from what's exactly accurate, precise, and not to something that's not precise. So over here, since we have the word Yamim, by Bati Yarichaima, Yamim Tiagulasei, right? So therefore, we're going to learn that it means a year. Those that say Mina Yadina and the Kol plus the Yarchi Chad Zimna Dilma Arba Zimni Beshaita Arba Yarchin Chad Zimna Trey Yarchin Bechad Zimna. Okay, one of the verses over here was Yamim Yamima, that the girls would cry, would lament over Yiftach's daughter 4 times a year. How do you know that it means every 3 months? Maybe it was twice 4 months intervals. That would be 8. And then another twice every 2 months. How do you know that it's exactly at the same equal intervals? Maybe it's just 4 times a year, and it doesn't have to do. It's not equal interval. But it doesn't have to be, right?
So it's declared.
So maybe, very good. So that would be a reason why we can't learn from there, because we don't have it precise. Rab Neirai says that they cut the hair once every 30 days. My time, Gabi Kayan. What's the reason why Kayanim cut the hair once every 30 days? Because that's when it gets heavy. So that's when Avshalom would cut his hair as well. He's the Nazir Olam that we're talking about. What would be the difference between him and everyone else? Avshalom is a Nazir Olam. He's only allowed to cut his hair once a week. His brothers are princes; they cut their hair once a week. In what does it express itself that he's a Nazir if he's allowed to cut his hair at the same time everyone else in his family is cutting their hair? Well, Yom Tov Shechaliyas B'Emtz Shabbos. Let's say Yom Tov falls out in the middle of the week. So the Achui Megalchin Hulei Megaleya. His brothers would cut the hair in honor of Yom Tov, but he wasn't allowed to cut his hair in honor of Yom Tov. He can only cut his hair once a week. Inami.
So the kind of hair is a shus, and given with the time, it's not a hit. So,
right.
Like if it's an older Kohen or an older Nazir who's kind of bald and really doesn't have much hair, doesn't need to cut it, it's irrelevant.
Right. That's what it sounds like. Inami legaluchim and safra demali Shabbat. There's possibly another difference. Other difference is that is he allowed to cut it Friday morning? Achui megalchin yelay megalech panya. The brothers can cut it Friday morning, but he's not allowed to cut it until right before Shabbos. Okay. Hani arbaim shana maya v'detaya. What are you saying? What did Avshalom mean? Or not? Avshalom didn't actually say that. Pasuk, the narrator, where is this in Shmuel? Who wrote Shmuel? It was written by Shmuel Hanavi and God and Nasan, God Chayze and Nasan Hanavi. The author of Shmuel wrote that it was at the end of 40 years, and Avshalom says to the king. Now, what do you mean it was at the end of 40 years? Rab Neirai Mishum Rabbi Shua. Rab Neirai explains. This is the second time Rab Neirai on the same page. It's not so common. In the name of Rabbi Yeshua, L'kates mem shana sheshol melech. It was at the end of 40 years when the Jewish people asked for a king. Now, the commentary here goes through the calculations, Taisvus and the commentary that's in the position of Rashi, which is the Rivan, Rashi's student. Go through the calculations. This was 10 years into Shmuel's reign. That's when they asked for a king. Okay, so it goes like this. Chana and her husband Elkanah, they go to the Mishkan Shiloh, and Eli is sitting at the gate. Now, when it uses the term sitting, Rashi tells us all over that means that he was appointed then as the shayfet. By light, it says Yoshev, right? Light Yoshev. Yeah, but does it say that at that time? I know she was, but the term Yoshev means that at that moment, that's when he was appointed. Okay, so she conceives, she gets the blessing from Eli, and she conceives, and she has a child, and 2 years later, she brings him. Now, it says that Eli ruled for 40 years. Okay. Which would mean that Shmuel comes in the second or third year of Eli, which means that after another 38 years, Shmuel then takes over because Eli passed. So Eli was the Kohen Gadol and the Shayfet and the Navi at that time, and then Shmuel takes over after he dies, right? So it was he dies 38 years later after Shmuel arrives. When Shmuel arrives, he says that he's going to be here ad olam, right? Chana says ad olam, that means 50 years. Okay, so now Shmuel is now, olam means 50 years. Okay, so Eli passed away, Shmuel is 38. Shmuel was there, he ruled for 10 years until he's 48. And at that time, when he's 48, then the people come and say they want to have a king. And Shmuel gets all upset with them. What do you need a king for? You want to be like all the nations or whatever. And then he appoints Shaul as the king, right? Appoints Shaul. Shaul rules for about 2.5 years or 3 years. So basically, then he appoints David, and David takes over, and Shmuel passes away then when she's 52. So they asked for a king 3 or 4 years before Shmuel passes away. They asked before Shaul becomes king. Shaul is king for 2.5 years. Then David takes over. After 36 years into David's rule, then Avshalom says that I want to go 40 years from when they asked for the king. It's not 40 years for David, it's 36 years for David. And that's when Avshalom says, I'm going to take over the kingdom, and he goes and he tells his father, I'm going to cut his hair. Because Avshalom knew that David was supposed to rule for 40 years. And he figures that now it's his time to take over. But really, David only ruled for 36 years. Avshalom was counting from when they asked for a king. And he was including Shaul as part of David. He thought it was
so similar to Purim.
To Purim, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have a new Mishnah. Stam Nazir Lamed Yom. Look at that if you want to learn a Mishnah by heart.
Love it. Love that one.
Stam Nazir Lamed Yom. A plain Naziris is 30 days. Unspecified amount of time is 30 days. Okay. Now we know a Mishnah by heart. What's the source for this? Amar of Masna, maybe Rav Matana, I don't know. Amar of Masna, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Kadosh yeh b'gematria tlasnav. It says that he's going to be holy. Now the word he will be, yeh, is the gematria 30. So that comes to teach me why, because there's 2 yuds, that's 20, 10 each, and then there's 2 hays. another 10, it's 30.
In wonder though, halakha's being from
Yeah. Anyway, that's what that must be a tradition. Actually, the interesting thing is Rav Masna is very often quoting psukim. And I think even Shmuel, who asks Rav Masna questions, asks him about psukim. Right.
Yeah, I think that's just a mnemonic to remember it. But like he said, Tzalach Moshe Sinai.
So you're saying it's a Kabbalah.
Right. Right.
Whatever you want to call it. You want to remember it, remember ye, but it's 30 days.
The rush. You have a rush on the side of your page. It says, "You're the Gemara Gemiri Lavas Machua Hach Gematria the Lavni Yud Gimel Midas Yishater Najash." Gematria is not one. Yeah, yeah, but that's okay because we don't necessarily follow Rabbi Shmuel's. There's another 30 or something in the Chilta. So anyway,
What
so
was you said that so quick.
I quoted the Rush. The Rush
Yeah,
says
what
that
was
it was a tradition. What Hillel mentioned that it's a tradition from Moshe at Sinai, but because the Gematria is not one of the 13 ways of study. Okay. That was the opinion of Rav Masna. Bar Pada Amar Keneged Nazir Nazirei Hamurim B'Torah Lamed Chasar Achas. If you look in the Torah and you go through, you need a concordance, or you can just turn the pages. You count how many times it says the word Nazir, so you'll get 29 times. So that's what it says. Stam Nazir is 30 days because it's 29 times. It says Nazir 29 times. That means 29 days. And then the 30th is when they have to cut the hair and whatever. So but it turns out over here that there's a difference between Rav Masna and Bar Pada if what it means is 29 or 30. Because according to Bar Pada, it's really just 29. Rav Masna Nami Nelef Minazir Nazir. Why doesn't Rav Masna learn from Nazir Nizrei? Amalach, Rav Masna says, Ahula Drasha. Some of those Nazirs, sometimes it says Nazir, but I need those psukim to teach me other things. For example, Yain v'shecha yazer less yain mitzvah rishus. It says yain v'shecha wine. We had this before that he vows from wine and hard and alcoholic strong drinks. So that's coming to tell me that he's not allowed to drink Kiddush and Abdallah wine, right? Or actually, the Gemara said no, that it's referring to. Other interpretation was he took a vow that he's going to drink, and then he's still not allowed to, right? And another one is Kiyafli Linder Neder Nazir Lahazir Malamich Nazir Chal Nazir, that a person can take one Nazir, take on himself that he's going to be a Nazir, and then he takes on himself again that he's going to be a Nazir, and he has to count twice. So some of those words Nazir I'm already using for other teachings, and so therefore, according to Rav Masna, I can't use it to teach me 30 or 29. Bar Pada Malach, what does Bar Pada say? You're using it for other things. He says, like a Chad Minayin Delav L'Drasha, what you used up all 29. Even if you used up 28 of them, but one of them is extra. Once one is extra, what is it coming to teach me? The number. So once it's for the number, then I can use them all. In other words, it's not going to be exclusive. Because I have one extra, I'll be able to use it to include all the ones, even though I'm using them anyway for other things. But I'll be able to include them into the number.
You know, it's like a minion. Once you have even the same Russian, once you have a minion, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, they're all part of the same minion.
So they get included.
It's the same Russian.
Okay, now we're going to have questions back and forth for the next page and a half. You ready? It's a question on 29 or 30. That's how the questions are going to be posed. Tanan, we have a Mishnah Stam Nazir Shleishim Yoim, and Nazir is 30 days. Bishlam Ramasna Nicha. I understand Ramasna. He says it's 30 days. Yeah. A little Bar Pada Kasha. It should only be 29. Amalach Bar Pada says I did a Yom plus in the Magalech Meva Karbonis Mishmachi Tana Shleish. Since he has to cut his hair after he becomes after he brings the sacrifice, which is the next day, right? Puts cuts the hair, puts it under the fire or something. Anyway, so that's why that extra day is the 30th day. Tanan, another problem. Misha Marini Nazir, someone that says I'm going to be a Nazir, he has to cut his hair on the 31st day. Sounds like a problem for Barpada, right? Masna, we understand. 30 days is Nazir's 31st day cuts his hair. Ala Barpada kasha, but how's Barpada going to explain that? Amlach Barpada ima seifa. Barpada says, let's go further in that Mishnah. Im gilach liyem shleishim yatsa. If he cut it on the 30th day, it was yatsa. See, obviously Nazir says 29 days. Umar says ala seifa misayale reisha nasaka imer shleimin. The end of the Mishnah actually supports Barpada. But what does he do with the first part? The first part of the Mishnah, it says he cuts it on the 31st day. That's because it's as if he said 30 days, 30 complete days. He didn't say, I'm just going to be a Nazir. He must have said, it's unclear if he just said, I'm going to be a Nazir, or if he said, I'm going to be a Nazir for 30 days. And it's as if he said 30 complete days. And it means, I'm not sure. I don't know how it's
Can
written.
you say I want to be a Nazir for 40 days?
Yeah, he can say whatever he wants. More than that. But if he just says, I'm going to be a Nazir, it's 30 days.
Minimum.
Yeah, the question is over here. Barpada is adding an extra day for some gezeira of some sort. Because in case he would have said 30 full days, then he would have to cut his hair on the 31st day. So therefore, that's why it says that the Chatchila, he should cut his hair on the 31st day. If you cut it on the 30th day, that's fine because it's really only 29 days. Rav Masna Kasha Seifa, what does Rav Masna do? That says that
I'm sorry, when does he bring the korban? At night or in the day?
By day, the following day. Rav Masna, what does he do? According to Rav Masna, it says that if the hair was cut on the 30th day, he was yaitze. According to Rav Masna, there's no such thing as the 30th day. It will have to be the 31st because he holds that the Nazirus is 30 days. It says Kasavar Miktsayim Kakula. Rav Masna's opinion is Miktsas Ayayim Kakula, that part of the day is already considered the whole day. Once it starts counting, he's already the day. It's as if he counted 30 days, and then he can already cut his hair on the 30th day. Amazing. That's the opinion now of Rav Masna. Of course, Barpada would say that we don't say Miktsas Ayayim Kakula. Yeah, that's why you need the extra day, right? The 30th. And Rav Masna holds that Miktsas Ayayim Kakula, partial day, is considered a whole day. Okay.
I don't know if they mentioned it, but like if you start counting from the first day, it's like an extra day. Like when you go on a trip, you count the first day, it's like one extra day.
Right.
Like if you count the first and the last, you're always gonna have an
Right.
extra day.
Right.
That's really what he's holding. That's why it becomes 31.
No. I think the first day everyone would agree, Miktsas Ayayim.
When you make a hotel reservation, you pay your last night, even though you don't leave till the next morning. They don't charge you for the next day. So you leave before 10 a.m. or 11 a.m.
The hotel will tell you like 7 nights and 7 days and 6 nights. It's usually how they do it.
They're only charging you for 6 nights. That's what I'm saying. The morning you leave, you're not charged.
For that day.
Because that
If
makes
you
up
leave
for
1
the
minute
first one.
after that 11 o'clock checkout, they charge you for the whole day. Is it?
They, depending on
Really?
the rules of the hotel.
But they don't charge you for that morning.
They
because
can.
all the time you're
I don't think
missing
they
out
really
on the
do, but
first
they
day.
can.
The first day you can't check in until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but then you still have to check out before that 10 p.m.
I mean, unless they make some
Okay,
dispensation.
we got it. Question.
Who's going on vacation? I don't know.
Only people that go are the people that have credit cards that give them points and they don't know what to do with it. So they stay in hotels. And that's the right. So, Henry Moshe, it's traveling all the time. Rav Masna Kasha Seif Mixim Kula. Okay, we have an answer. Tanan. Here's a problem. You're telling me Miktsas Ayayim Kakula. 1 second. You have a Mishnah that says Harini Nazir Shleishim Yaim. Someone says that I'm a Nazir for 30 days and Gilach Yaim Lamed Lo Yatsa. He's not Yaitza. Why should he not be Yaitse? If he shaved his hair on the 30th day, why did he not fulfill it? Part of the day it was enough. My answer is by Mishleiman. That's a case where he said that it's 30 complete days. He said clearly it has to be 30 complete days. That's what he accepted. It's not. We have another Mishnah. Mishnah Nazir based Nazirs Megalechus Rishona Yom Lamed Be'echad Bashniel Yom Shishim Be'echad. Okay, this is going to be a little confusing. Someone accepts on himself twice to be a Nazir twice. It means he has to cut his hair in the middle. Okay. So the first one is 30 days. So he's going to cut his hair on the 31st day. And the second one, when should he cut his hair on the second one? 62. 61. That's the end 61. On the 61st day.
You post that the default is 30 days.
Yeah.
Is it 30 complete days? Default?
According to Rav Masna, it's 30, not 30 complete days because Miktasiyam Kikule. According to Barpada, it's 29 complete days. So, unless he says it's complete, then that would be complete. So here we have a little bit of a problem. It says Bishlam Rav Masna Nicha. We can understand what's going on with Rav Masna. Why? Because Rav Masna holds Miktasiyam Kikule. So, way it works is like this. He's supposed to shave his head, his hair, after 30 days, right? He shaves it on the 31st. But really, he was allowed to shave it on the 30th, but he's going to do the 31st because that's the complete one. Now, the next one is 30 days. Now, he shaves his hair on the 61st. Over there, he's counting the first day, the 31st day, as the first day. And then that's really going to give me on the 61st, that's only going to give me 30 days. He shaves his head on the Miktasiyam Kikule of the 61st. Once the day starts, it's already considered 30 days. Right? It's going to be counting Miktasiyam Kikule at the beginning. But the interesting thing is, why does he have to wait to the 31st day on the first time? That's interesting. Umar says, according to Rav Masna, it works. Why does this work? He's on the 31st. Oh, he's on the 31st day of both. He's on the 31st day of the first one, and he's on the 31st day of the second one. If you count day one, if you count the 31st day of the last one as the first day of this one. So in other words, day 31 gets counted for both. Gets counted twice. It's day 31 for the first one, and it's day one also for the second one.
Like that, it would be like the first term is 34 days, and then the second term is just 30 days. It's not full.
We're considering it full because we're counting the 31st. Basically, he's shaving his hair on the 31st day of both the first and the second. Even though it's only 61 days. Because the middle day is counted for both the here and there.
You know what's bothering me? You don't know what's bothering me. Come on. The only time I ever, that's a great look. The only time I ever hear of this machlokas, if it's not machlokas, 30 or 31, it's when it comes to a chodesh that's chaser or malay, right? Sometimes, but that's not really 31. It's
29
or 30. Otherwise, all through halacha stuff,
30
things
is
go
30.
by sevens. They go by weeks, or they go by years. 4 weeks. Or in the Pesach Sheni, it's 4 weeks later. It's like, why all of a sudden we come to Nazir has to pick 30? It's like it's an odd number in our natural way of counting and everything.
I didn't think that this was so odd. But 30 days before the holiday, you start to study about the holiday. It's not really weeks. Weeks it comes up also, but 30 days was a typical amount of time.
But it's not a lot.
Even Stam Halva, 30, you take a loan, you have 30 days. I mean, that's
Okay,
this was,
I take it back.
I think 30 was-
I
30
wasn't thinking.
I think
all
30
those
was a
other
was a
30s.
normal suggestion.
So it's also, so we have
Yeah.
7:30 and then.
And especially a month is usually 30 days. Well, not usually, it's either 29 or 30. So,
This is different from a lot of those. It's interesting because seems that this is biblical.
Yeah.
Many of those are rabbinic.
Right.
This is biblical, so you got to get it right.
yeah, the only thing that the nuance here that you can throw into this is that when a person says, I'm going to be a Nazir, we're saying that it means 30 days. Now, is that we're saying that he means 30 days? Are we saying it because we're putting it into his, we're translating his intention, or are we saying that it doesn't matter what his intention is? It's always 30 days. I think we're saying it doesn't matter his intention. It's always, you can't be less than 30 days. So as we're setting a rule here, so it is a real law. It's a real law. It's not just like, what did he mean?
It's like Harayat Mekadesh, it automatically is the king, Pharaoh Mekadesh is lit. We know that. So this is really your
Right.
keynote. Falls
Right.
into that.
That we complete the statement. We fill it in that it's 30 days automatically. So the Gemara says, Bishlam Rav Masna Nicha. Rav Nasa, we can understand this. Why? Because the 31st day is when he's cutting the hair for both of them. Ela bar pada kasha, why do you need 61 days for the two Naziris? You could have been satisfied with 29, not 29, 59, according to this logic. You can get away with 29 twice. 58. You need the extra day. Say 59. Amalach Barpada says, would say to you, Ema Seifa, let's go further. He did this last time also. But first he brings a proof to himself, and then it's not even him talking. This is what he would have said to you. And then he answers the question. Ema Seifa.
Where is
Barpada is a student of Rebbe. He's I think about a nephew of Bar Kapara, the young student of Rebbe. Where's Bar Kapara? Bar Kapara is the student of Rebbe, right? You have the chart? You have a chart in here? See this.
Kapara, yeah, student of Rebbe, but he doesn't mention.
Yeah. Barpada is under there. He's under Bar Kapara. I think he may be a student of Rebbe, maybe a student of Bar Kapara. But that's his time. Now, who's he arguing with? Arguing with Rav Masna. Rav Masna is later. Rav Masna is the second generation, is a Talmud of Shmuel, or a friend of Shmuel, maybe. Rav Masna would be on the next page. On the Amirayim. I don't know if he's there, but you have him here. No.
They didn't put him. I added it.
Okay. He communicates with Shmuel. Amalach Barpada Ema Seifa, let's see that. Well, look at this. If you read further, it says that if he took a haircut on the 30th day, then he can take a second haircut on the 60th day, which means that you only really need 29 days. Okay, so what comes out over here is that the end supports him, that he only needs 29 days. How does he learn the beginning of it, where you needed 61? So that's because he said 30 complete days. Okay. The Rav Masna Kash the Seifa, what does Rav Masna do with the Seifa? We had that question before, and we said, he was telling me that Niktasi and Kakule, that partial day. Amalach Rav Masna, Kedektani Seifa, Yom Shleishim Eila Lakana Lakana, that you can use the 30th day for both of them. Second, Rav Masna said that you needed 31 days. Says no, Miktasiim Kakule. Mahi, what are you telling me? Miktasiim Kakule, that you can use a partial day as the whole day. You already told me that you can use the partial day as a whole day. You don't need to complete the day. It's a very interesting line. Gemara is saying that I can use a partial day as the whole day, only if I'm not using the other part of this day as the whole day. Because if you consider part of the day as the whole day, then how do you then use the other part of the day as a whole day and get 2 days out of that?
Like
Can't have your
double
cake
dipping.
and eat it too.
Right. So if you want to use the last day where there's no Naziris after that and just say, well, the day, it's good enough. So part of the day was the whole day. Okay, good. But you can then take the other part of the day and make that into a whole day. It says Kamashmal that you can. Finish. Even though Rav Masna told us one mikzah sayim kukulei, but he didn't tell us that you can use 2 mikzah sayoms in the same day, 2 partial days in the same day, and get 2 full days out of that. That's a big finish. Okay, so we're satisfied with that answer.
By
That's,
the way, where's Rav Masna?
Masna is next to Shmuel, but he's not on the chart.
But
You
he
have to
should
add
be-
him. It should be. He's I believe he's like a Talmud Chaver of Shmuel. You know.
But
And the
Bruce's
student, he's also a student. Because I think it says sometimes Amar Masna or Shmuel.
Wow.
Yeah, the Gemara may say Amar Matana. We're holding now Tanan. We're on the above in the middle of the page. Tanan, we started in the Mishnah. Gilach Yem Shishim Chaser Echad Yatza. If he shaves his head on the 60th day, it was Yaitza Shiyem Shleishim Eilu Min Aminyan, because the 30th day counted for both. Bishlam Rav Masna Nicha. Now, here's very interesting. The Brisa, the Mishnah itself said that the 30th day counts. You can count the 30th day for both. That's what's coming out. But that explanation is only necessary for Rav Masna that requires that explanation. For Bar Pada, he doesn't need that explanation. You can shave on the 60th, of course you can, because you only need 29. El Bar Pada, Lamali, he only need 29 anyway. I don't need the explanation that you can count the 30th day for both. You know what? This is such an interesting answer. He says, Pada flips the whole thing around. Says, you're using that as a question on me. This is my source that you only need 29 days. We said, why do you have to say it? He says, exactly, this is my source. Yom Shleishim Eilu means that you can only need 29 days. Okay. Tanan, thought in the Mishnah, Misha Marini Nazir. Someone says, I'm a Nazir. Nitmi Yom Shleishim Seiser Sakal. If he becomes tummy on the 30th day, he has to start over. Okay, seems to be a support for Rav Masna. Rav Masna Nicha. According to Rav Masna, this is good. No, it's obviously not good, but it means it fits, right? El Bar Pada Kasha. According to Bar Pada, he already finished the Naziris. Amach Bar Pada says, Ema Seifa. This is Bar Pada's style now. Let's see, read further. Rabbi Lezer Shiva. Rabbi Lezer says that it only is 7 days. He only has to wait 7 days.
There's a period after your vow expires and you give a carbon.
Right. Right, which is the next day.
So when is it
Okay,
actually?
so what happened over here? Usually, the vow expires on according to Bar Pada, the 29th. The 30th, it's already over. You could bring the sacrifice, but over here, he became tamei. So Rabbi Eliezer says that you have to wait 7 days now. Now, what does he have to do for 7 days? Well, either he has to wait for his hair to grow because it's not considered cutting the hair until it actually grew, because he had to cut his hair because he was tamei. He has to cut his hair properly. Now, the real cutting of the hair, or the explanation is there's 2 explanations, or just in order to bring the sacrifice, he has to become pure. Became tamei, you have to wait 7 days to become pure. But whatever the case is, Bar Pada explains that he's following the view of Rabbi Eliezer that the Naziris was over already, and you just have 7 days. Now it doesn't have to restart.
Where are they getting 7 days? When you become tummy, you have to start the month all over.
Yeah, that's only if you're in middle of the month. But Bar Pada that says that it was on the 30th day the month was over, the Naziris was over on the 29th. So this is just a way to bring the sacrifices. 7 days. Yeah, it's similar. Over there, it's a little different. Over here, he has to get sprinkled on the 3rd and on the 7th with the red heifer. It's a different story.
Here it mentions that even if they took a 29-day of Nazirs, they still have to observe the 30th day.
Yeah, that's what Rapada was adding. It's Rapada was saying, I wasn't explaining it clearly. According to the Rush, is that the Rush over here? Just 1 second. He's adding in one little detail that the Rush says somewhere else. The Rush doesn't actually spell that out here. But yeah, the Rush at the end of Psachim says that the Torah likes round numbers. I think he said about Chaser Achas, I forget what he said. Anyway, he says that because people use round numbers, so it should always be 30 days, even though it's really only 29. That's what's happening. Okay. So Isal Kadaitach Shleishim Min and Nistakulu. If you say that you really need 30, what's this aleph over here? So then you should have to start over. So Gemara says, Ksavar Rabbi Lezer Miksim Kukulai. Now, who needs that? Ksavar Rabbi Lezer Miksim Kukulai. That sounds like Rav Masna needs that. For Rav Masna, why is it only 7 days, not recounting if it's on the 30th day? He says, well, that's fine because the 30th day, part of the day is already the whole day, so he doesn't have to start over because he already did the beginning of the day. Tanan, learned in the Mishnah, Reini Nazir Meya Yom.
By the way, which Rabbi Eliezer?
Okay, this is Rabbi Eliezer from a Mishnah, which would be Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinas. He's a friend of Rabbi Yeshua. He's a student of Rabbi Yechon Zakkai. Yeah, always in the Mishnayos and the Bryces, Rabbi Eliezer is always Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinas. Did you read any of those books? He's one of them. He's Rabbi Eliezer is one of them. Yeah, my daughter finished them all.
Which books?
There's these comic books about the Tanaim.
Comic?
Yeah.
I'm still working with Superman.
How do we get a set of those so we can look at?
Yeah, my kids are still going through it.
You'll have to wait. And if you have to wait for all of his kids, you might as well wait 20 years.
Right.
How many books were there? 13 books.
Where'd you get them?
Yeah. They're selling them. It's published by Feldheim. Svarim deals.
Oh.
I think. In the back of it, it has the Hebrew, it has the sources. Anyway, I can't tell the faces. They're all the same, I think. Anyway, so someone takes a nazir himself for 100 days. Nitma Yaimeya. If he becomes tummy on the 100th day, Seisra Sakol, he has to start over. It's only 30 days. That is. 30 days come in here. Well, if Rabbi Lezer holds that it's only partial, that a partial day is considered a whole day, Mr. Shiva, like he did by when it was 30 days. And if he doesn't hold that a partial day is considered a whole day, then he should start over. Gemara says, really, he doesn't hold that a partial day is a full day. So therefore, if it gets tummy on the 100th day, you should have to start over. Yachi listikula. Reish Lakish says, Hanatime de Rebbe Lezer is a special source. Amar Kra, Zeis Teres and Nazir. This is the rule of the Nazir. B'yoyim Malais Yemei Nizrei, on the day that he completes his Naziris. Atayram and Nitma B'yoyim Malais Tain Le Teres Nazir. That if he becomes tummy on the day of his completion, we just give him a new Naziris, which is 30 days. Okay. Lema Ketanai. Let's say that this machlekes that we have, our second Lema Ketanai, between Rav Masna and Bar Pada, if it's 29 or if it's 30 days, let's say that it follows another machlekes of Tanaim. Ad Malais Hayamim. Until his days are complete. Now, Shemani Miyat Yamim Shnayim. I would have understood that it's only 2 days, because Yamim means days, and with the plural, it's just all I know is that it's more than 1 day. So it would be 2 days. Talmud Laimar, but the pasuk says, Kadosh Gadol Pera, that holy should be his hair growing wild. Ein Gidl Sar Pachas Mishleishim. And you don't have hair growing like that if it's not 30 days. That's the Rabbi Yoshe, that's the view of Rabbi Yoshe. Rabbi Yoshe sounds like it can't be less than 30 days. Sounds like Rav Masna. Rabbi Yonason says, no, ain't it tzarech. Rabbi Yonason and Rabbi Yoshe argue. Yeah, that's very common. There's another version over here that it's really Rebbe. Rabbi Yonason and tzarech. Ad Malais Hayamim, until he completes the days. Elu. Hein Yamim shetzrichon lamalis. Which are the days that he needs to complete? Say that this means 30 days. What days need to? Okay, it didn't explain what it's referring to. Now, my love, but right at this point, the Gemara says, Rav Masna Damak Rav Yoshe. Rav Masna that says that it needs to be at 30 days. He would hold like Rav Yoshe that says that it can't be less than 30 days. Rav Pada Damak Rav Yonason. Rav Pada would say like Rav Yonason that says. Sounds like it's also 30 days. That's the problem over here. Let's see. Let's leave Bar Pada for a second. Amalach Rav Masna. Rav Masna would say, whenever we have this Lema Ketanai, Rav Masna wants to go like both of them. He doesn't want. So Amalach Rav Masna, Kuli Alma Shleishim, everyone holds that you need 30 days. But we do have a machlekes. When you say 30 days, do you include the 30 days or up until? Is it including or until? Rabbi Yoshe Savarad B'layad B'chlal. Rabbi Yoshe holds that it's until and not including. Rabbi Yonason Savarad B'ad B'chlal. Yoshe Savarad. It says until 30. When it says until 30, that doesn't tell me that it's 30, because until 30 would only mean 29. So he needs Kadishia Gadol Pera, the Yiyah, to tell me that it's 30, just like Rav Masna had a Gematria over there. So that tells me that it's 30. And Rabbi Yonason says, Ad B'chlal, it says until 30, and that's including it. Then what's going to come out? He also says that it's 30. Basically, they both hold that it's 30 days. The question is where they learn it from. Okay. Now we go back to explain Rabbi Yonason. Amar Mar, with the master taught, what are the days that need to be filled? It must be that you have to complete 30 days. Like what it says, you have to complete the days. What's a random number that you would need to complete? It must be 30. It says Ve'ema Shabbos, maybe it's just 7, maybe it's just a week. To complete a week. Where do you get the 30 from? Just random. It says Shabbos Mieka Chaseirusa. It says you have to complete it. We're looking for something that could be lacking and could be complete. What could be lacking, could be complete? A month, could be 29, or could be 30. We say you have to do it complete, which means we're talking about a month. Shana, maybe it's referring to a year, because a year also sometimes is a leap year or not a leap year. The Gemara says, but would a leap year be a difference in days? You never make a difference in days for a year. You just add a month. What you do here is that when you make a leap year, we only add an extra month. We don't add individual days. So therefore, we're talking about something that needs to be completed. We'd be only talking about a month that needs to be completed, and that would be the 30 days.
Order base, is that always 29 days?
I'm not sure.
It says in this.
I kept expecting this.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Have a good day.
How we count.
Go to.
Yeah. All the best.
Say this.